Right then, let's try and put the absolute chaos of this weekend and the Ronaldo news and not news and what's going on behind us. Let's focus on what we're actually here for, and that is football, and that is Manchester United against Wolverhampton Wanderers. I'm actually very excited to do this one because I think there's a lot of tactical intrigue in this. And things have changed since Nuno's left. New manager's come in, and he's done a couple of things which I think make Wolves more dangerous and a bit less boring, because it was a bit safe and boring at times last season. And I think they are a real threat for Manchester United. But let's have a look at exactly why and what's going on with them. So here's what they did over the summer. They brought in Traore from Angers for 9.8 million. They brought in Trincao from Barcelona. He's there on loan and he's a decent player. They brought in Jose Sa from Olympiacos for 6.25, and also Bola from Molvidi, and that was undisclosed. They have lost Rupert Tricchio to Roma and Rafa Mir to Sevilla. Last season they finished 13th, which is pretty underwhelming when you look at some of the talent that they had at their disposal. They obviously lost goals with some of the injuries that they had. In pre-season, they only won 2 of their 6 pre-season games, drawing 1 and losing 3. And they've lost their 2 opening games 1-0, and that's Spurs and Leicester, 2 tricky sides to go to for your opening fixtures. And obviously Manchester United now coming to go and see what's going on in this particular fixture. And I think they're very unlucky to be sitting on no points after 2 games. I think they dominated both of those games. They certainly dominated the amount of shots in both of those games. And their finishing has let them down a little bit. Now, since they appointed their new manager, Benfica's ex-manager, Bruno Lage, he's not really mega changed their formation. It seems to have, on paper at least, remained the same as it was under Nuno. In their first 2 games, they've gone with the 3-4-3 formation, which sometimes looks like a 5-2-3 formation and goes very compact. And that's obviously one of the reasons why Wolves fans were a bit bored and thought that it was a little unexciting, a bit possession heavy and a bit ponderous and slow as they move forward, and that's all changed. That's one of the things that they weren't happy with, and I think that's one of the things that they've started to overcome, even though on paper it does look almost identical. Too often last season, I thought Wolves sat very deep in their own half, and they just sort of passed the ball around the centre halves, absorbing possession, and what they lacked was the spring to attack and to counter. Their only outlet really being Adama Traore, who's always found wanting when it comes to his end product. But I do think Adama Traore is the star man for Wolves. So let's talk about him a little bit first, and I'll talk about exactly what he's going to do in this game, because I think that this is going to be the key. Now, Adama Traore, right wing, right? Not anymore. Adama's playing on the left. It's Trincao that's now lined up on the right for Wolves. And I think this is going to be a big issue for Manchester United, and potentially a big issue for Wan-Bissaka and whoever goes as United's right side centre-half. So, powerful, quick, dangerous, unpredictable, top dribbling. Regardless of the stats, he was borderline unplayable at times last season, and certainly last weekend against Spurs. On his day, he can be one of the most unplayable players in world football. The physique on him is honestly like that of a rugby player. You have to game plan for him. You can't overlook him. And if he had any end product, he would be one of the best players in the world. Luckily, he doesn't. Not surprisingly, though, he was in the 99 percentile, which means he's inside the top 1% for dribbles completed and progressive carries across the world, ranking him right alongside Lionel Messi and Neymar in those categories. He led the Premier League in dribbles last season. 173 times he's left his marker in the dust, which was almost double the amount of the person in second place, which was Marcus Rashford with 94. This season, he's on 20 dribbles. The next highest one is Alan Saint-Maxim on 13, and then nobody else has more than 6. That just shows how much he is a dribbler. In a game that we were likely to dominate possession, Adama on the counter, especially with United's high line, is going to be the danger man, big in transition. Now, let's have a look closely at how this works with Adama Traore then. So a lot of his dribbles come right on the edge of the middle third and our third, right on the line. That's where he's looking to beat his man. So he kind of drags the fullback over. He beats him in a 1v1 situation. And he's doing one of two things. He's either going to the byline where he's going to look to cross, and he crosses from that corner of the box and the byline every time, or he's going to look to come inside from there, which is what he's started to do and added to his game onto his right foot, and this is where he's going to shoot. He's going to come in, and it's like that Tony Marshall sort of stereotype run, coming in onto his right foot, and he's shooting from that sort of this corner of the box here. Now, his shots haven't been great, and his crosses haven't been great. It's the lack of end product is a bit of a nightmare. But one thing that we saw against Spurs, it was the best chance of the game, probably when Neves played the through ball right through here, found a down with Traore, who managed to get a shot off. This is something that I think United have got to be very wary of. I think it'd be Wan-Bissaka that plays right back. Right side centre-half could be Lindelof, or it could be Varane. I don't think Varane's going to sit on the bench for a long time. I think he's going to be integrated into the game. This could be a tough game for him, and I think he's a better candidate to deal with the Adama Traore's pace, because he's got pace, and also strength, because he's a big lad. I think Wan-Bissaka copes comfortably well when he's 1v1 against him, but this ball that I saw against Spurs, ghosted in between the fullback and the centre-half, this is the kind of ball that I think is where Wan-Bissaka's overall defensive game falls to pieces. And he's not going to have played often, obviously, with Varane, even in training. This is where I think a breakdown of communication and cover and responsibilities could really start to unpick United in this area. Jimenez, he's a decent enough striker. I don't think he's top tier. But if you're going to start to turn both Varane and Wan-Bissaka inside out in this area, you're looking at a 1v1 Maguire on Jimenez cutting across. The other thing that you've got to be wary of is if you pin the entire defence back, and also we're focusing on Adama Traore here at the moment. Trincão's going to do this on the other side to Luke Shaw as well. And Semedo gets in the mix too on the overlap. When you've got the defence being pulled back like this and having to stay narrow and compact to deal with people that are running at you, that leaves a lot of space in front of your defence for the midfield. This is Neves shooting territory. Neves has become a lot more box-to-box this season under Large. And I do think that this is a hell of a game for United. They have dominated and they haven't won games. United have won games with a brilliant performance against Leeds and then absolutely bored the piss out of everyone with that draw against Southampton last week. The consistency in this is with Wolves. And I think at home, Wolves are going to be a tricky prospect. Now, United should go to Wolves and pick up 3 points, if we're serious. But if you put in a performance like you did at Southampton, we are going to be well in the shit. Let's have it right. Right then, let's have a look. Last season, this is what Wolves were doing. So they were below average in possession with a 49.3, which was indicative the way they played and prepared in last games to rely on sitting back and looking to hurt teams in transition. However, due to the quality of their midfield players in the double pivot that they play, Neves and Moutinho, they have some really good players. They had a very decent pass completion of 81.6, and that was only bettered by Arsenal, City, United, Liverpool and Chelsea, showing that they're just outside the top four really with when it comes to their technical ability. They struggled going forward last season, only scoring 36 goals in 38 games, and that's where they fall down for me. That was the 5th worst in the league. The injury to Neves and to Jimenez and Neto hurt them, and they've obviously been scoreless in their opening games this season. They had the 4th worst XG with 39.9, which suggests that they not only are they not finishing chances, they're just not creating anywhere near enough chances either. And they were dead last in the league for defensive pressures in the attacking third, which means that they're literally the opposite of a high-pressing team. They just drop off altogether. They look to sit back, soak up the pressure, and try to hit you on the counter. And they do have very adept dribblers, though. 3 players last season in the top 10 for progressive carries, and that was Semedo, Neto, and, of course, Traore. Here's the United side that I'm going with. So I'd like United to switch to a 4-3-3. And the reason I'd like to see them switch to a 4-3-3 is to just overload that central midfield area. Neves and Moutinho are very good footballers, very technical footballers. But if you're outnumbered, and it's as simple as that for me. So David De Gea in net, Wan-Bissaka, and I would like to see Varane start alongside him, and Maguire and Shaw rounding out the back 4. Fred as a single pivot in the 6, because they're going to counter-attack. You do need the pace and sort of coverage that Fred gives you, but I don't think you need to be too defensively minded in this. Let's bring Paul Pogba in now. Let's go with a 6, 8 and a 10 in midfield. Fred as a 6, Pogba as the 8 and Bruno there as the 10. Cavani in the 9, Greenwood on the right-hand side and Sancho on the left-hand side. That's what I would like to see as United's starting 11. Now, genuinely, when you play a team that goes 3 at the back, the goal is to exploit the spaces in behind their wing-backs, which is why I've gone with Sancho on the left and Greenwood on the right. And I would be looking for those two to sort of swap sides as well at times. When I first wrote the team, I put Sancho on the left, and then I thought, I need a way to get Greenwood in the team here because I think he's in decent form. He's finding the net, and that's what I've gone with. I would have Dan James on the bench and look to try and exploit them a little bit later on in the game and stretch them with pace. But I think we start with Greenwood and Sancho. Sancho's good enough to still go around the outside on the left. He just does it more off the right. Greenwood can go down the right. On the right-hand side, he just prefers to come in and shoot on his left, but he can do both. So I would look for them to interchange a little bit, but also just line up as they are and look to just push out into those areas behind the wing-backs and exploit that sort of space. Wolves can definitely counter that by making it a back 5. If that's the case, then United just push up our fullbacks. The problem with pushing up our fullbacks then is all you're going to see is that they're going to put Trincao and they're going to put Adama and they're going to go wide onto the outside of our fullbacks. They'll have Jimenez down the middle. United are going to have to deal with that somehow as well. So that's going to naturally pin back United's fullbacks. Now, I don't think any of us have an issue with Wan-Bissaka coming back. If you bring Fred back, you've got a +1 on their attacking 3. And you don't really see the midfield join it too much. It's the wing-backs that are looking to join it. So I think you could still allow Luke Shaw to be the one that pushes up and just hold on to Wan-Bissaka a little bit. And even though it's asymmetrical, you've still got 4 players to deal with 3 players. And that, for me, would be enough. They're not going to be breaking at breakneck speed. You've got the pace of Varane to cover. You've got the pace of Wan-Bissaka to cover. And actually, Fred can move as well. So I think you could probably cope. And sometimes you have to take that little bit of risk to be able to go and create a chance. And I'd be happy with that. The midfield battle, this is going to be extremely key as well. And that's why I went with a midfield 3. The midfield pivot of Moutinho and Neves, it's the strongest part of their squad, I believe. But they're not two warriors. They're not going to absolutely physically dominate you. They're both a little on the smaller side, so I think you can get around it with that just by having an extra number in there and keep it a quite tight triangle in possession, and someone should always be free. It is adapting Bruno's game just a little bit in the build-up, but he's going to do exactly the same thing and exploiting behind. When United attack with 4 players against the back 3, absolutely fantastic, and that means that they're going to pin their own wing backs back, so they go +1 as well. So I think this is all going to be the very key things. I also wouldn't be shocked to see Solskjaer go with a back 3 and match up what they're doing in this instance, but I hope he doesn't. Wolves didn't create too many goal-scoring opportunities. They've had a lot of shots, but they're not the highest quality of shots that they've created, and certainly when a lot of them are falling to Adama Traore, they're not the greatest of shots that you're ever going to see. We are capable of nullifying them, and I think these are also capable of nullifying us as well. That's why you've seen a lot of these games previously with Wolves turn into an absolute snowfest. If United can go out there, score early, put some pressure on them, I think they will come out swinging. They've looked to go a bit more direct, a little bit more into the channel. They're asking Adama Traore to sort of be on the shoulder and look to get in the gap between that last man. That could be a very interesting battle as Varane adjusts to the speed and pace of the Premier League. Can we isolate Sancho against Swiss or whoever it is that's going to end up playing left of the back 3? Can we move the ball quickly through a midfield 2 if we can? If we've got the wing backs have dropped all the way off, you're basically dealing with just 2 lads sitting in midfield. And that, I think, United can easily get the run around on. You've got to move the ball quickly and you'll get it around them. Don't ponderously just drive up the pitch with it. Move it fast. This is going to be about momentum. This is going to be about running in behind, something that we did not do last week. And if you've seen the Mason Greenwood goal, just keep your eyes on Anthony Martial and just know that is nowhere near good enough. We are creating spaces in behind defenders and in behind fullbacks, and we've got to look to exploit those. And I think if you can get Greenwood and Sancho on, as well as Cavani, someone is going to be moving and running towards those spaces. So that's what I'm thinking. My score prediction is going to be a nervy, tight 2-1 United. And I think Cavani's going to get on the score sheet. And I think Mason Greenwood is going to get on the score sheet. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I will see you after the game. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.